Welcome back, rock stars. It's another episode of From the Vault. Ricky Rocks coming at you with the retro action figure review. Just like always, we've already had a lot of fun. 2024, we've talked about He-Man, we've talked about Superman. Last time we did the incredible Superman and Clark Kent box set from Mattel. We're going to kick it a little bit forward, coming a little bit into the future, so to speak, for a few years henceforth from that set. Today we're going to be looking at a really awesome 2-pack from 2009 and Mattel's DC Universe Classics line. Not just any 2-pack, but the Wal-Mart exclusive Dynamic Duo. That's right, Batman and Robin. Not just any Robin, but my favorite Robin of all time, Tim Drake, Robin 3. Third guy to wear that costume, take that name. This set is important and amazing for a lot of different reasons that we're going to get into. Take a quick glance at it here. I've been sitting on this one for a little while. I've been amassing a collection of DC Universe Classics so I could start doing more reviews. Was not really picking these up as they came out. I was only collecting WWE and wrestling figures at that time, late 2000s. But so anyway, yeah, this is a really awesome set, and it's really near and dear to me because big fan, huge fan, not just of Batman, but also of Robin. Now, some people, it's a little controversial to say, but I don't know why. Hear me out on this one. A lot of people I see claim to be fans of Batman, but they say they hate Robin, they hate the character, they hate the concept, they hate everything about it. You could suck a butt. Let me tell you why. When people say silly stuff like, well, I like Batman better at the roots when it was just him and he was a gritty, dark loner. Yeah, you're talking about like the first 5 minutes of the character, Jack. Batman came out in 1939. Robin was the most sensational character find of 1940. It said so right on the cover. And so less than a year after you had Batman, you had Robin. Robin predates a lot of the Batman lore that we've come to look at as the foundation or the bedrock. Robin was there before Alfred. Robin was there before the Batcave. The first live-action Batman project, the movie serials in the 1940s, was Batman and Robin. The live-action TV series was Batman and Robin. It wasn't until the late 80s, early 90s, when that idea of Batman as a grim loner came back into fashion, and even then, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns was pretty much the seminal turning point of Batman into that character, and even then, it was, in that story, triggered by the death of Robin, and even in that story, he gets a new Robin like 10 minutes into it, so yeah, there's Batman and Robin. There's Batman by himself sometimes, but it's just not quite as good. If you don't like Robin, you don't understand a lot about the Batman character. I'm sorry. I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. On a very fundamental, foundational level, the root of what makes Bruce Wayne Batman is the fact that he wants to prevent people from being hurt and traumatized the way he was when he saw his parents be killed as a young boy. He watched that happen right in front of him. And that was a traumatic event in the life of young Bruce Wayne, and it changed him into the guy who would grow up to be the Batman. At the heart of who he is a guy who goes out and tries to prevent other people from suffering the same way he did. And it's easy to get lost in the madness of it all. So Robin, the Robin character, represents a lot of things of vital importance. One of them being the innocence of youth that died when Bruce saw his parents killed, right? So Robin is like a tether to that younger, more hopeful, more idealistic sense of self that Bruce Wayne is always in danger of losing because he's always walking that razor's edge, right? He's always literally staring into the abyss, the worst part of humankind, every night, and without something to draw him back, he could just as well become just as bad as the villains that he fights. And the excellent film Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice plays heavily with that very theme, right? In that movie, after Robin was killed by the Joker, we see a Batman who's very dark, very obsessive, practically villainous. He's murderous in a lot of ways. And, you know, what we see there is that loss of innocence. Hi, Zoe. Zoe's a big Batman fan, too, so that's why she's dropping in to say hi. Because we got Zoe. I was right in the middle of playing the Arkham games, and she watched me play them for a few weeks, and she was in love with them. So, hello, Zoe. Your tail's probably on the camera. You're crazy. So she's a big Batman fan, too. So she gets a lot of what I'm laying down because she was there through it all, watching this stuff with me. So anyway, yeah. So Robin, not only does he represent the idealism, the hope that is still very much a part of Bruce Wayne and keeps him from falling into that darkness that always threatens to consume him, but also Bruce Wayne is a more self-aware person and character than a lot of writers in the modern era and a lot of fans give him credit for. He knows that he's damaged. He knows that he's traumatized because he didn't have a lot of people to rely on when he was a kid after his parents died. He didn't have a lot of positive influences, so he grew up in a very dark-minded and obsessive place. So he's drawn to these kids who have a troubled background or a similar background, like Dick Grayson, whose parents were murdered, or Jason Todd, whose parents were murdered, and then Tim Drake, who had a little bit different background we'll talk about. But yeah, so Bruce sees these kids, and he sees an opportunity to be there for them in a way that people weren't necessarily there for him after he was traumatized as a kid, right? So trauma can be this generational thing. And since Bruce Wayne is a guy who fundamentally doesn't want to see anybody be hurt the way he was hurt, he steps into these kids' lives to try to be that positive, molding, shaping influence. They're still, vigilantes just like him, but they don't have to fall as deep into the darkness as he has, right? If you read the comics, I'm always telling you people, read the comics. You simply cannot fully understand the depth of these characters just by watching cartoons or movies or TV shows. To really get in the root of who these characters are, you must read comics. I beg you, read the fucking comics. So, we see as Bruce trains these kids to be Robin, right? He tries to use his own experiences to push them in a better direction so they don't end up like him. And we've seen with Dick Grayson and Tim Drake, you've seen this kind of a mindset as they grew into the role of Robin, that they made a deliberate choice along the way. They would see Bruce and Batman and they'd say, well, I want to follow his path, but I don't want to walk in his exact footsteps. I'm not going to be like him. And we've seen each of them grow into their own hero without Batman, which is really awesome to see. I love DC's legacy characters, man. Nightwing and the Robins. Really cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff going on with Flash, too. But anyway, with these legacy characters, you get to see them grow up from being sidekicks into their own men, and that's really awesome. But each of them made different choices so that they would not be like Bruce or like Batman, which is really cool. They're not repeating that pattern, that cycle of violence and trauma, which shows that Bruce is actually successful. These are things that you don't get from the Batman mythos if you remove Robin, if you remove Nightwing, if you remove these sidekicks. The mythos at times goes to great lengths to even illustrate to you that the whole grim loner thing, it's not real, it's not true, it's not actually who Batman is. The comics, the shows, the video games, a lot of it goes out of its way to illustrate to you that Batman is a team effort, right? He couldn't be as good as he is without all these supporting players. And each of them are important in their own way. So yeah, if you don't like Robin, suck a butt. And they've all been great in their own ways. I'm not a huge fan of Damian, I will say. Today we're going to talk about my favorite, Tim Drake, the third Robin. Now, famously, Jason Todd was killed during the Death in the Family storyline, 1988. Very newsworthy, as in it was literally all over the news. When Robin was killed in 1988, DC made a lot of comments that, the character was done. The movie was coming out, which had Batman by himself, and that was a big deal, so they were kind of leaning away from Robin for a while. Robin wasn't gone for as long as you may remember. Tim Drake was introduced in '89 as a supporting character during the Lonely Places Dying storyline. So, less than a year after Jason Todd's death, Tim Drake was on the scene planting seeds for the new Robin. Allegedly, the story goes that DC realized they had, too many T-shirts and lunchboxes with Robin on them. They couldn't get rid of the character completely. I think that's a rather cynical way of looking at it. I think they just realized the popularity of the character. The Adam West Show was on TV every day at this point in time, so it's not like there was no Robin in pop culture, right? There just wasn't one in the comic books for a little while. So, within 18 months of his arrival, Tim Drake was the third, newest, and some might say improved Robin. They did a great job building up the character over that 18-month period from debut to coming out wearing the new costume, which I thought was amazing. It was such a great evolution of the character. That costume by Neil Adams and Norm Brayfogle really modernized for the 90s look. This Robin was definitely no mere kid sidekick, and a new Robin for a new era and a new Batman. Now, this set really does a pretty good job of recreating how the characters looked in, I would say, the late 90s through 2005. It's not perfect in every way, as we'll get to, but yeah, this set was really sought after and is well sought after. Go check it out there. Now, these pictures do have some differences from the actual figures, which we will talk about. Little minor ones like Batman's belt buckle. I don't know if that's exactly the same head either, but yeah, little nitpicky stuff. Yeah, this set came out in 2009. Not the first Tim Drake Robin that Mattel made, but the first one with so much articulation, so many moving parts, especially the knee and elbow joints. We'll talk about that for a little bit. I love Guinness. Anyway, so the reason why this box set specifically is so highly sought after by fans and collectors is that the first couple Robin figures that Mattel put out didn't have so much articulation, didn't have the movable elbows. They did do Robin as part of their dedicated Batman line, and then I think they reissued it for the DC Superheroes line. But again, no elbows, which was kind of crummy. The costume was a little bit more accurate to the comics, but because this Robin has all the articulation of the DC Universe Classics and the classic Tim Drake 1990s costume, this thing was immediately a hot ticket item. I've seen it go for as much as $200. I didn't pay $200, but I've seen it go for that much quite a bit. People want this Robin figure. And the Batman figure's pretty good too. We're going to talk about that. But another quick aside, because rants are what I do. Back to the idea that some people don't like Robin. And I see people try to push the idea that because they don't like Robin, nobody likes Robin. Again, listen up, slapnuts. Robin is a character that a lot of people like. Evidence of that is the fact that almost every time a new Robin action figure comes out, it's gone like that, and the price goes through the friggin' roof. This goes all the way back to the very first Tim Drake figure as part of the Batman Returns line in 1991 or 2-ish. Yeah, that was the first ever Tim Drake Robin figure. It was really hard to find for a little while. It's not hard to find now, but that started a pattern, right, where they'd come out with a new Robin figure and everybody would buy it, and then you're searching everywhere for it. That continues to this day. McFarlane just did a really great Tim Drake we're going to talk about. That thing shot up in price immediately. The Superpowers Robin figures, pretty good, really well regarded. People love Robin. I don't know where you idiots get this idea that nobody likes Robin. I think you got the problem. I mean, why are some Robin figures, the Dick Grayson figure from DC Universe Classics, I think that go for over $100. These things don't happen in a vacuum. So, yeah, you guys are nuts. Everybody likes Robin, except you, because you're stupid. So yeah, this is a really cool box set. It's not perfect, we'll talk about that, but first to do that we have to open it up. And yeah, I've been really looking forward to this for a long time, because really a huge fan of the Tim Drake Robin, and just a must-have figure. Anytime they come out with one, I'm first in line to get it. I missed this one because I wasn't going to Walmart. I wasn't going to Walmart a lot back then, so. But we're making up for lost time here on From the Vault. That's what we do. Stick around. We're going to be back in just a minute. We're going to take these guys out of the box. You know the deal by now. Stick around, and we'll be back in a hot second.
Holy jackpot! Holy bank balance!
All right, out of the package, I could say even more that I really love these figures, man. Great Batman, excellent Robin, really great set. Now, one thing I have to point out immediately that makes me love these figures over some of the stuff we've been getting more recently from McFarlane. A lot of it is quote-unquote better, but one thing about the McFarlane stuff that drives me crazy and a lot of other people is the scale. They do some really awesome looking figures, but when you got Robin that's as tall or taller than Batman, it doesn't work. And here we've got excellent scale. Robin comes about up to Batman's shoulder. He shouldn't really be taller than that, truthfully. And the whole body is smaller. Everything about Robin, obviously they didn't just grab a generic body. They gave him completely his own. That's exactly what you need to do. Excellent job. It's, again, not 100% comic accurate. We'll talk about that as we talk about the Robin figure individually. But yeah, what a great representation of the dynamic duo in this dynamic duo box set from Mattel. You know, this was... The way these characters looked, with these colors and everything, would have been probably 2000 to 2005. After that, Robin went to the red outfit. And, you know, before 2000... Batman wasn't always wearing the black with the with the bat with no circle around it. So yeah, you know, the figures themselves, they move great. They're about the posability, articulation. If you've had any DC figures from Mattel, you know what to expect. They move great. They play great. They don't always stand great because of the capes. That's the one drawback to a lot of these figures, but they always have the holes so you can get the stands if you want to, and that solves that problem. Yeah, a lot of these figures, especially I've been using a lot of them for customs and things, and I just noticed a recurring thing with a lot of the Mattels. The capes kind of make them back heavy, and you can get them to stand, though. It's not impossible. It's not even that hard. It's just, you know, it's a factor to be aware of. But the posability's great, playability's great. You get one accessory, just like the Superman Clark Kent 2-pack came with one accessory, Clark Kent's incredible manila folder. Here you get one accessory, a Batarang for Batman. Good stuff. Would have been cool if Tim came with a bow staff or something like that. Or even a slingshot, because he used to do that. That was his first weapon. But yeah, overall, awesome together. The scale puts it way over the top for me as perhaps the definitive Batman and Robin 2-pack. You know, love the McFarlane stuff, but a lot of those figures, like Robin, Superboy Prime, way too big, some of them. So, you know, some people don't take points off for that. I don't care that much, but it is noticeable. You know, even when I'm doing customs, you know, if I got like a Lex Luthor that's taller than Superman, I scrap it and try to find a better body. It's just, you know, when you have the characters posed together, especially, you want them to look right. And the scale for this really puts it over the top for me. The figures themselves are cool. The Batman is a Mattel Batman. They did a million of these. We'll talk about the specifics. But yeah, love this Robin, even though it is just a repaint of another figure Mattel did. But yeah, they go great together. This is, in some ways, the definitive Batman and Robin. Now, I would have a different Batman swapped in if I was going to pose this on a shelf. But it's perfectly acceptable. It's just not my favorite version of Batman. But this is what he looked like for a while when him and Tim were teaming up. So we're going to be back to do the in-depth look at each of these figures. But on the whole, I can already say for me, as a set, it's a 10. Love it. love everything about it. We're going to tell you what and why and where and how and all that good shit in just a second. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the Dark Knight himself, the Batman. Hang out. And here he is, the Dark Knight detective himself, the Batman. Second only to Superman as far as DC's hierarchy of superheroes. Batman speaks for himself. I mean, Mattel's entire DC line started with Batman. It grew out of the original Batman line that they did around 2004 or so. That was a great line for what it was. From that, they branched out into DC Superheroes, which was a Batman and Superman line, and then finally on to DC Universe Classics. Mattel has given us plenty of Batman figures over the years. Their entire DC line grew out of Batman, and as such, they've always given Batman a little bit of extra love and care. We've talked about a couple of their other Batman figures before. We have talked about the original Batman Year 1 figure. We have talked about the Silver Age costume variant of the Arkham City Batman. Mattel always gives you a great Batman figure, no matter whether it's the Batman line, DC Superheroes, DC Universe Classics, any of their sublines. Mattel always gives you a great Batman figure. If you've had one, you pretty much know what to expect. A lot of parts reuse. This one is definitely mashed up from a few of their other Batman figures. They did that a lot. They gave you a lot of different Batmans, but they would swap the parts around from the DC Superheroes and DC Universe Classics, and they would share a lot of stuff between them. A lot of parts here, I'm not sure about all, but a lot of parts here definitely came from the Public Enemy's Batman. I recognize the belt. Not sure about the head specifically, but yeah, there's a lot of reuse. Mattel is notorious for that to great effect. I love that they do that. I don't care. I mean, whatever it takes, you know, if you got to cut corners to give you something cool and save a few bucks here and there, you know, they always did a great job with it, going all the way back to their He-Man line. But yeah, this is a great Batman. This is pretty much the quintessential Batman as it looked from the 2000, 2005 or so era. The black and gray, the big black bat on the chest, no yellow highlights. You know, if you saw Batman in the comics back then, this is pretty much what he looked like. You got the Batarang there for throwing. Excellent accessory there. It's nice they give you something, like I said. To me, the only way this figure could get much better is if they had given some of it a wash, like the belt. You know, the colors are all correct, but I do some customizing here and there, and I know that it's an extra swab of paint, but giving some of these figures, some of these sculpts, a nice wash really makes the sculpt stand out. That utility belt could definitely use a wash. Even the black. I would like some navy blue highlights on that, just to really make it pop, because it's a great sculpt on the cape and everything. All the details are there. It's a great looking figure. The colors are accurate. It's just, like I said, having worked on these for customs, giving it a wash really makes the sculpt stand out more on all levels. The cape, the gloves, the boots, the belt, all that good stuff. But it's still a great figure. You can't say it's not. Like I said, Mattel always gives you a quality Batman. If you've had one, you've pretty much had all of them. Just different details, different belt, different gloves, different cape, different bat logo, different head. But they're all essentially the same. Same articulation, same awesome posability. We're going to get more hands-on with this guy. But yeah, do I love this figure? Of course I do. It's a Mattel Batman figure. What's not to love? Right? We're going to come back in just a second, and we're going to move them around. Get your hands on it. That's what they're made to do. You keep these guys in a package, you're friggin' stupid. Look at this guy. He's begging to be played with, and we're going to do that. Stick around and find out what he can do. You know what he can do. If you don't have these Mattel figures, I hate you. Seriously. What are you doing with your life? We'll be back. Yeah, really, really great modern age Batman here. Great job from Mattel. As I said, other than giving the figure a little bit more paint to really make the details pop, This is a great figure all its own. Excellent articulation and movement, just like you'd expect from any Mattel DC figure. You got all the standard points of articulation. You got a lot of movement. He holds position well. Feels loose enough. Moves a lot more smooth than some DC Universe figures from Mattel that I've handled, but doesn't feel loose in the sense that it won't hold a pose. It absolutely will, but it's got good glide, let's put it like that. Good glide all over the place. Yeah, all his joints are really, really buttery smooth, and I like that. Ooh, even the waist. Sometimes these guys lock at the waist, and it's a real pain in the ass to move them around. But yeah, this Batman has some of the best smooth articulation I've had on a DC figure. Excellent, excellent. Do the splits. Like, this is definitely a guy who's been training at peak level for years to be as good as he is. Got even good front to back. Pretty good. Excellent bend at the knee. Ankle. Wow, yeah. Like I said, Mattel always gives you a quality Batman figure. And for what they put out in 6-inch scale, this dude has it all, man. This is a great figure. And this is pretty much how he looked in the comics in the early 2000s, 2000, 2005, around that era. Awesome. Great head sculpt. You know, the Horseman always did a great job on these DC figures for Mattel. Bat logo looks excellent. The belt, like I said, that definitely is the same one they used on the Public Enemy's Batman figure and a few other places. They always did that with their Batmans. They would mix and match like the heads and the capes and the gloves and the chest, and they would get different figures out of it, swap the belt parts around. You know, other people have done videos that show all the different Mattel Batmans and all the different part swaps and everything, so you could find that out there if you look. But this is a great basic Batman, and definitely a great one to have in your collection. Great job on this 2-pack. You can get him in all kinds of awesome action poses, or you can just stand there and look intimidating as hell. Great job there. Love the cape. You know, got that sharp points on the cape. Really love that. Yeah, definitely. Gotta say, I'm glad I have a lot of Mattel Batman figures, but if this is the only Batman figure I had, I would not be sad about it. If this was the only Mattel Batman I had, I'd be perfectly fine. I'm glad I have some of the others, and we're going to talk about some of the others. We talked about a couple already, but yeah, this is a fantastic modern age Batman figure. Love everything about it. The Batarang fits nicely in his hand. Comes out kind of easy, but it doesn't rattle around. Like sometimes we have figures we talk about, and you know they fit in the hand, but they fit kind of loose, so it like slips through like that. You know, not a problem here if you put it in right. You know, pretty good looking Batarang. This looks like an Arkham style Batarang to me. I'm sure they used this in a few different places. Batarang itself doesn't have any articulation, in case you were wondering. It almost looks like it would move or fold or something, but it does not. It's just one solid piece, which is fine. I like that they painted the gold bolt in the middle there. Didn't really have to do it, but they did. So, nice job, Mattel. Good deal. So yeah, if you do it right, it fits nice and snugly in his hands, and, you know, get him into some poses, getting ready to bop somebody, you know, you know, the guy getting off with his mail or whatever. Hey, get back here, you kids! You know. Yeah, excellent job by Mattel on this awesome modern age Batman. We've got a few Batmans like we talked about. If this was the only one I had, though, I would not be sad. How does he compare with another? Oh crap! How does he compare with another one? Well, here we go. We got the first appearance Batman, Detective Comics 27. A little dusty. He's on permanent display here at the Casa de Rockstar. So yeah, he's a little dusty. But yeah, how does he stack up with that? Well, you can see, first appearance Batman looks like he's a little taller based on the shoulder height, but some of that could be the cape too. I don't know. Yeah, your first appearance Batman's a little bit taller, a little bit more broad-shouldered because of the cape, but they still stack up pretty good. You know, they're almost eye to eye. Love both of these figures. Like I said, I gushed about the first appearance Batman already. You know, some nice evolution for the character there. Batman has had a lot of evolution to his look over the years. So yeah, pretty much you get 1939 versus 2000, give or take. That's what you got here. So that's pretty neat, I think. Awesome job there by Mattel. There, you can hang out over here. You can guard my beard, Batman. He's the silent guardian of my beer. Yeah, we'll fix Clark there. How's Batman stack up next to Superman, for example? Pretty much as he should. Almost the same height, but Superman's a little bit taller, which is pretty accurate. You know, world's finest heroes right here. Superman and Batman. Yeah. Mattel really did right by DC's two biggest characters here. So, scale pretty good for this Batman and all Batman figures. As I mentioned, Mattel always went out of their way to really do Batman properly because that's where it all started for them. So, not shocked that the Batman in this 2-pack is one of the best ones. If you can only have one Batman, get this 2-pack so you get this modern age one. Unless you're a real sucker for the Silver Age one, which some people are. That was their Series 1 Batman figure. So yeah, definitely dig that the most. Love it. A+. I mean, I'll say it's a 10 out of 10. The only way it could be better would be to give the figure a wash, and, you know, for a retail figure, you don't often get that, so I'm not crying too hard about it. It's perfect otherwise. It's a perfect Batman, perfect look, scale, articulation, and it even comes with a Batarang. Great job, Mattel. This Dynamic Duo 2-pack is already a home run so far. Thanks to this amazing Batman. We're going to come back in just a second to look at the other half of this equation, Robin, specifically Tim Drake. Hang out. We're going to drink some brews. Thanks for guarding it for me, Batman. You know, that's what he sticks around for. Like, you know, that's what he's on the payroll for, making sure nobody gets near my brewskis. There's not a lot of action anymore for first appearance Batman otherwise. You know, it's a different time. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be back in a moment. Batman's going to take a powder, and we are going to be back with Robin, Tim Drake, hang out, and we're going to do the deal. There he is, Robin, Tim Drake, my personal favorite Robin of the three. Now, this kid definitely earned his stripes, debuting in 1989, becoming Robin in 1990. Tim Drake did the homework. He was there the night Dick Grayson's parents died at the Haley Circus, and from watching news clips, he was able to determine that Bruce Wayne was Batman, and in turn that Dick Grayson was Robin. Tim already proved himself a master detective by the age of 10 years old, and only from there got smarter, better, and tracked down Batman after Jason Todd's death to try to remind him why Robin was so important to the entire identity of Batman. So after doing the work, after originally intending to coax Dick Grayson back into the role of Robin, Tim eventually graduated and took the role for himself, complete with this amazing costume designed by Neil Adams, classic Batman artist, and Norm Brayfogle chipped in a little bit on the comic book version as well. But yeah, this is an awesome version of Tim Drake's original Robin costume. Now, the figure itself is simply a repaint of the single card Robin figure in the DC Universe Classics line. That Robin figure was the more modern Tim Drake costume with the red and black with no green accents at all. And certain elements like the spikes on the gloves, the pointy cape, the belt with all the pouches, that Robin logo, the stitching on the front of the shirt, all of those elements are specific to the post-2005 Tim Drake, the red suit. So it is just a repaint. It's not fully comic accurate. This Tim Drake costume did not have the spikes on the gloves or the cape. He had a completely different belt. He had thinner stitches going down the front and a lot more of them. He had the sharp R logo on the chest. So yeah, this is not specifically and totally comic book accurate. Other Tim Drake figures have gotten those details more accurate. But as repaints go, this is one of the best repaints that you could possibly have. It's close enough to the comic book version that at a glance, a lot of people probably would not notice. Now, I'm a stickler for detail, so I definitely notice. Tim's costume with this look should have the sharpened R, the sleeves and gloves should have pouches instead of the spikes on them. There's no detail at all in the sleeves. A little bit skimpy there. The belt should be completely different. He didn't have all those pouches on it. He had little slot compartments in which he had his different gimmicks and items. And the cape, of course, was not pointed. But once again, at a glance, this would pass most people's inspections. And it's a great, great version of Robin. Tim Drake never looked better in my opinion. I actually like some of the detail changes. Like, I like that the cape is pointed. I think that's neat. And I don't mind the spikes on the gloves. The belt I can take or leave. But yeah, once again, if this was the only Tim Drake Robin figure I had, I would not complain about it. Other figures have gotten the details closer to the comic, but this is still a fantastic version of Tim Drake. Now, Tim, little trivia for you there, he was named after Tim Burton, whose Batman movie was coming out around the same time as the character debuted in the comic book. So, since Tim Burton's movie gave Batman such a huge platform to so many people in 1989, they wanted to pay homage to him and that movie by naming their new Robin after him. So, a little bit of trivia there for you. A lot of people do not know that. Even though he didn't appear in any of Tim Burton's movies, they are linked in that way. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And yeah, love the costume, love all these details. The mask being green, that is something that was more prominent with Tim, absolutely. I love the collar on the cape. Again, that's Tim's costume, man. To me, this is the perfect Robin outfit. I like the classic one for sure, but the one designed by Neil Adams, the Tim Drake, is definitely a great evolution of the classic look brought into the 90s. I wish they never got rid of it, personally. The red suit is okay, but this one to me just is so amazing. It's such a great mix of old and new. Only way it could be better to me is if they used metallics, especially the green. Like, metallic green would look great and more comic book accurate, especially on the legs. But what can you do? Aside from that, it's pretty damn near close to perfect. I love almost everything about it. I mean, it's a 9.95 out of 10 for me. A few little details aside, this is as close to perfect as it gets. We're going to get our hands on this guy and move him around a little bit, but yeah, I love this figure. I love Tim Drake Robin, and this is a great version of him. Gotta love it. We'll be back in just a second. But man, oh man, this box set was well worth the money for me. Even Zoe is going crazy about it. We'll be back. I know I already said it, but I love this figure. Great version of Robin. Moves great. It's much smaller than your average DC Universe Classics figure. In a mostly a good way, but you get all the same articulation, all the same movement. Really, really moves well. Just like the Batman figure is really super smooth. You know, this guy's got it all. You've got the torso crunch. Yeah, these figures are great. Mattel definitely always gives you a quality figure. And for DC's superheroes who tend to get up to a lot of serious business when they're out there fighting crime, you know, Mattel definitely lets you get them into a lot of awesome battle poses. So yeah, even though Robin here is a much smaller figure, it's even much smaller than the other Robin, the Dick Grayson Robin. This figure's got a much smaller body than that. Yeah, I know, Zoe, that's what I said. I said it's much smaller than the other one. Zoe likes throwing her 2 cents in. So, yeah, it's definitely smaller than your average Mattel DC Universe Classics body, but it's got all the same articulation, which is awesome. I decided to give him a batarang just for fun. Now, since it is a repaint of the red suit Robin figure, the sleeves are just painted on, they're not sculpted on, so some people might have a problem with that, but I think it's, you know, fine. It's passable. At a glance, like I said, most people would not even notice the small details that are not comic book accurate. Most people would just look at it and be like, oh, awesome, that's a great looking Robin figure. Got that messy hair that Tim was known for. The green mask. You know, I don't know if they could have done like maybe a dry brush on the mask to give it like some shadow or something. But yeah, the green mask is a nice touch. I wish the R was that pointy R logo that was comic book accurate, but what are you going to do? Easier to sculpt that one, I suppose. You know, the belt, again, it's not the way it looked in the 90s, but it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's just bulkier than the one Tim actually wore. I do love the cape. I always loved Tim's black and yellow cape right from the beginning. The fact that it would have a black outer layer made a lot of sense, especially since in the comic books it was noted that it was lined with bulletproof Kevlar material. So, great evolution there of the entire concept of Robin. That's what this look represents to me, was the evolution of the concept of Robin. Obviously, the original Robin costume was based on a 1940 circus acrobat, and it worked great for that time, and even in the 60s. By the 80s, it was a little bit dated. So, even though I definitely have a great appreciation and fondness for it, this is definitely my favorite Robin costume of all time, and it really, to me, did a great service in helping make Tim more acceptable for an audience in 1990 that perhaps was a little jaded to the concept of Robin. Always loved this look, and Mattel gives us a great figure to display this look, and he's got great posability like any other DC figure from Mattel would have. Just like Batman, he's really smooth and posable. You know, no stiff joints really anywhere. He can get up to any kind of action. Really impressed with this figure. I love it. I love the job they did on the cape. Like I said, even though it's not totally accurate, I like the little points on the cape there. For me, the biggest problems, if you can call them problems, would be the bulky belt, which wasn't the way it looked in 1990, and the R. I just love the classic comic book R, and the stitching on the front is too bulky. I wish it was slimmer, but I mean, it's fine. All these things are fine. That is the nitpickiest shit ever. I love this figure. It's a great version of Tim, and most people will not even notice that it's not 100% comic accurate, because it's 99% comic book accurate. I could honestly care less. Some figures get it more accurate. This one is fantastic. Looks great next to all your other DC figures, except it's maybe a little too small. I love that it's small enough to show that he's a younger guy, right? Because Tim, you figure, was about like 13, I think. when he was Robin for the first time. Except that the original single card figure, he was older by that point. He would have been like about 18 or so. So in that respect, this figure would be a little too small. But with this costume, and Tim being about 13 years old, it pretty much works. But yeah, if you look at him in scale, if you look at him in scale next to Batman, it's really, really good. You know, if this is Tim just starting out, it works pretty well next to Batman. You know, in that case, it's not really too small. Next to some figures, he looks a little bit undersized, but you know, in a certain context, it's pretty much perfect. So, you know, like I said, Mattel, they did a great job with all their different scale. They just were not exactly perfect with it. But who is, right? For the most part, it's really good. And these two guys look great next to each other. You know, hey, how ironic. Anyway, so yeah, just for fun, we're gonna show Tim next to my Jason Todd custom I did. I just got a head off of eBay, and I put it on the Dick Grayson Robin body. Now, so in this context, right, Tim almost looks a little too small, because this body is the Dick Grayson Robin that came out on the single card. It was pretty much his new Teen Titans era, so the body would have been about an 18-year-old Robin. It's smaller than a standard Batman figure, but as you can see, it's much, much larger than the Tim Drake figure. Yeah, just for fun, I wanted to kind of show that off. So, again, Mattel, they did scale pretty well, but not perfect. Because, you know, some things, they look good in one context, but not necessarily another. Because in this context, you could argue that Tim maybe looks way too small. But, you know, this Robin is still smaller than a typical Batman figure, so it's hard to really say. Somewhere in between would be probably a perfect Robin scale. Somewhere like a little bigger than this, a little smaller than this, but, you know, it works more than it doesn't. Let's put it like that, you know? It works more than it doesn't. But on its own, it's a fantastic Robin figure and a fantastic version of Tim Drake. One of my favorite DC characters of all time. Now, again, some people make an argument against Robin, and everybody's got their favorite even if they do like Robin, right? Well, you know, this Robin was not only the Robin I came up with. You know, I was about like 8 years old when Tim finally came out with this costume, the Pages of Batman, and right away, you could tell something was different this time. Jason wasn't really respected by a lot of fans for a lot of reasons. With Tim, it felt like they did the work and really did a lot to make him earn being Robin. And then from there, he immediately got his own miniseries, which sold so well that they did a second miniseries, Robin 2, Joker's Wild, where he fought the Joker by himself and won, something Jason couldn't do. And then, from there, we had Robin 3, Cry of the Huntress, and from there, all these miniseries were doing such good business that DC decided to give Tim Drake his own solo ongoing series. A first for the Robin character. Dick Grayson's Robin never had his own ongoing series. He was a star in the Teen Titans comics, but he never was the star of a book called Robin. Tim Drake was the first, and that's a big reason why he's such a big deal in the Pantheon. You know, there's been a few different Robins before and since, but to me, Tim Drake was like the perfected version of that idea, the Robin character. And this look, to me, is the perfect evolution of the Robin costume. It's been done in a few different ways in a few different media, but yeah, this is awesome. Love this figure. You hear me say that a lot, but like I always say, I don't really buy stuff unless I'm in love with it, and that means that everything I say is over the top because I just love this stuff so much. It always makes me feel like a kid again. And as a kid, if I had this figure when I was 10 years old, man oh man, he would have seen some action for sure. Gotta love this Robin figure. Beautiful, beautiful version of the character as he pretty much existed in the comic. 9.95 for accuracy. 10 out of 10 is a figure, though. Just, are you kidding me? Look at this guy. Like I said before, you can't have Batman without Robin, in my opinion. And my opinion, as usual, is the right one. So, if you're going to only have one Robin figure, or if you're only going to have one version of Tim Drake, I would definitely say this one. The single card figure is cool too, but why wouldn't you want to get this box set, right? You get Batman, and you get the best version of Tim Drake that you can get for my money. A+ from Mattel. We're going to wrap it up, but yeah, man, I am so glad I picked this set up, and I'm so glad to finally open it up for you guys. What an amazing job Mattel did on these figures. Hang out, we're going to take it home. It's about that time. Well, that about wraps it up. I mean, what else can be said? You know, it looks like there's some problems at home, so I might as well bring it home. But yeah, Mattel hits another home run with this dynamic duo box set. Batman, Robin. Unbelievable. If you could only have one version of either of these characters, this would be the one to get. Definitely, if you could find this box set for less than $200, pick it up. You know, a lot of stuff's starting to come down now. There was a bit of a spike during the pandemic, and after that, so yeah, a lot of stuff got inflated, but it's starting to be more reasonable now. So that's why I jumped on this set finally, after missing on it the first time. Didn't see it at retail, but so glad to finally have this Batman and Robin box set. Mattel always gives you a quality figure. The build, the articulation is second to none. And they've always been like that. My very first toys as a kid were from Mattel. He-Man action figures. So, right up to the present day, some of my favorite action figures are from Mattel. So, yeah, I gush a lot, but I'm just telling it like it is. That's all I ever do. You want me to lie to you? Not going to do that. Mattel always gives you a quality figure, and these Batman and Robin figures are, without a doubt, some of the best you'll ever find. So, with that said, definitely pick it up if you find it for reasonable. I mean, you know, you might pay at least $100 for it, but at this point in time, I'd say definitely go for it. There's a lot of stuff I like better about the Robin figure than the new McFarlane, especially the fact that it's not huge compared to Batman. You know, it definitely stands better next to him. But yeah, if you could find it for about $100 or so, you're not going to find it for less, I don't think. Definitely pick it up if you see it out there. An excellent addition to your DC action figure collection. Mattel, hats off to you. We're going to take it home. Next time, who knows? Maybe it'll be something completely different. Maybe it'll be something a little bit the same. Who knows? You never know. Because I just do whatever comes to mind. I don't got a plan for this shit. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Like it, share it, subscribe it. So glad you guys have been paying so much attention to the channel. We got a lot to come in 2024. Hope you guys are going to be here for it all. Thumbs up to Mattel for this action figure box set. Once again, Ricky Rocks, bringing it to you as only I can do. Sometimes it hurts to be this good, and sometimes it hurts to have such awesome things right here in my collection, because it's just so amazing. But yep, definitely glad to have these guys. Hopefully, you'll find them too. One love, baby. Stick around, and we'll see you next time.